the Channel 9 studios in Mount Adams. This is the 2010 debate for Hamilton County Commissioner.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Clyde Gray, and for the next 30 minutes, I'll moderate tonight's debate for Hamilton County Commissioner between Republican Chris Monzell and Democrat Jim Tarbell. Before we get to the questions this evening, a little bit about them. Chris Monzell is a Republican. He's 42 years old, holds a bachelor's degree in engineering from Purdue and a master's degree in engineering from the University of Cincinnati, as well as a master's in public policy from Harvard. He's worked as a social worker and teacher and is currently an engineer at GE Aviation. He has served on Cincinnati City Council from 2001 to 2003 and from 2005 to the present. He and his wife Jana have 3 children. They live in Spring Grove Village. Democrat Jim Tarbell is 68 years old. He studied at the Lowell Institute in Massachusetts before embarking on a career as a restaurant and bar owner and promoter. He served on Cincinnati City Council from 1998 to 2007 and was appointed vice mayor for the final 2 years of his service. He and his wife Brenda raised a family and live in Pendleton. Gentlemen, thank you both for being here with us tonight. This debate will be carried out under a format and rules agreed to by the campaigns. They are: for each question, each candidate will get a 90-second response, with the first candidate also receiving 30 seconds for rebuttal. The rules do allow for follow-up questions at the moderator's discretion. In the event of a follow-up, each candidate will get 30 seconds for a response. Each candidate will then get 90 seconds apiece for a closing statement. We've dispensed with the usual opening statement so we can get right to the questions. I'll ask some, and some have come directly from you at home. So let us begin with our look at the first question. Recent survey of Hamilton County citizens found overwhelming public support for cutting the county's operating budget. Should deficits arise in the future, what specific spending cuts or revenue enhancers are you prepared to support? And Mr. Tarbell, you now have 90 seconds.
I'm not really, and I was not aware of that poll or that study, so I'm kind of surprised. I'd like to know where it came from. We've just cut 17% from the budget. We've laid off upwards of 1,000 people. And the budget, except for the stadium budget, is balanced. And the stadium budget is a serious matter and needs to be resolved. I don't, at this point in time, am not recommending that we cut anything. I'm not sure that we need to cut anything right now. If we can figure out a way, and I have a way, to balance the stadium budget, at least get it started, and I think that will carry us a long way to resolving the problem. Certainly in public safety, that's where the most serious cuts were taken, and that is the last place I would want to go. And I don't know of any one area right now that is fat. So once again, until I saw the study and got a better idea of what the questions were, I would not single out any particular department for cutting. For raising money, if we want to talk about the stadium issue, I've recommended that we suspend the tax cut.
Mr. Tarbell, I'm sorry, I'll have to cut you off for time's sake. Mr. Monzell, you now have 90 seconds.
Okay, thank you, Clyde. I've been through the budget. We have over 120 line items in a spreadsheet of looking at the county's budget for the next year. And what we need to do is separate those services that are state mandated and put those on the side, because those are ones that have to be funded by the county. Anything else that's not mandated by state law is on the table, and we should be able to look at budget cuts there. As an engineer at GE, I'm a program manager of a multi-million-dollar budget, and every year we have to come in and find 10% of productivity savings. You can do that by finding the waste and inefficiencies in our processes. Some ideas that I think that we should be able to look at is we have over 5 different auto garages for servicing county vehicles, 3 of which are within 1.5 miles of each other. Can we combine those and save money there? Another idea is looking at our human resources functions. There's different human resource departments throughout the different branches of the county government. Can we combine those and have savings there? As for revenue enhancers, I think we have an opportunity by looking at our county assets and being able to sell them off. A good example is the Con site. That's where the jail was going to be if we could afford it, but we couldn't. But instead, we have sold that land to a developer who's going to now bring in a business and bring jobs and more revenue into the county. Those are the type of things we need to look at in order to making our county budget work for the next year.
Mr. Tarbell, you have 30 seconds for rebuttal.
Well, once again, we've cut 17%, and the general fund budget is balanced. So we don't need to cut any more right now. We don't need to lay off any more people. We need to balance the stadium fund budget. And we can do that by removing the tax cut for the time being on a temporary basis. To me, that's half the amount of money we owe for the stadium debt, which we have to resolve right now. It brings the Reds to the table. I think they'll play their part.
All
That
right.
leaves the Bengals standing outside.
Mr. Tarbell, let me interrupt. I'm sorry to do that,
it's all right.
but we're talking to some degree about the stadium fund now, so let's go there. The fund is running roughly a $13.2 million deficit by some estimates, and what concerns a number of people is that that number is expected to grow to $92 million by 2014. So the question is, what plans specifically do you support to retire that stadium fund deficit? Mr. Monzell, we begin with you.
Well, the first thing, I will not raise taxes in order to solve that stadium fund shortfall. We have to do it by not just hitting the easy button of just going out and raising taxes to solve it. Instead, I think we have to have a multi-pronged approach where we look at, one, renegotiating with the Bengals. The Bengals put an offer on the table last year. We need to go counter that offer and find out if we can get savings from the lease that we have with them. You know, we're all in this together, and they're part of the problem. We have to have them part of the solution. Secondly, we need to make sure that we're looking at our own general fund, which we just talked about, and trying to cut out as much waste and inefficiency there and find savings. And then thirdly, we have to grow the economic pie. We have to bring more jobs into the area. We have to bring more families living in the area in order to bring more revenue in order to help with the budget in the stadium situation. And then I think most importantly is that we got to be able to hold the line on just hitting the easy button and raising taxes. That's the last thing we need to do in this recession. That's the last thing we need to do to our families in Hamilton County.
All right, Mr. Tarbell, you have 90 seconds.
You know, suspending the tax cut is not raising taxes. Suspending the tax cut is not raising taxes. It's bringing us back to where we were all the time. And it's not fair that none of us got into this mess in the first place about the stadium debt and the mess with the Bengals. But as commissioners, we have a legal responsibility to resolve that. And this is what the administration singled out as the least troublesome and the most expedient solution to resolving the stadium debt. We cannot, the non-legally binding, or the services that are not legally binding, the only one of any significance in that category is the sheriff's patrols. And Mr. Monzell has made it very clear in the past that he would not mess with that. Well, there's nothing left, so let's not kid ourselves. I'm the only one that's been honest with the taxpayers that this is the only way we can get the stadium debt resolved, to get it started. And it's not the way to run a campaign and win friends and influence people, but it's honest.
All right, Mr. Tarbell, thank you. Mr. Monzell, you now have 30 seconds for rebuttal.
And I respectfully disagree. When you are talking about the property tax rollback, people were paying a certain amount in property taxes this year. If you get rid of that, they're going to increase their amount they're going to pay next year. So it is a tax increase that the families will see once that goes in effect. And there's three issues with it. First off, he doesn't have the votes on the current county commission to get that done. It's already been put forward by one of the commissioners, and the other two do not support it. So it's a dead issue before we even get further of cutting the property tax rollback. Secondly, it's not enough money to actually solve the problem. And third, I think the most importantly, it breaks a promise to the people, the voters, when he passed it,
Mr. Monzell,
so they wanted it.
I'm sorry, I'll have to interrupt. Our next question now is from the public.
Does the county need a new jail? And if so, how will the county pay for it?
Mr. Tarbell, that question goes to you first. You have 90 seconds.
Well, the voters have voted twice that they would not support a new jail, quote unquote. But one of the components of the jail system is the attention or a lack of same to people that have addiction and mental health issues. It's at least 2/3 of the people entering the jail system either have addiction issues or mental health issues. And I think one of the best way we could resolve the jail challenge right now is to have a diagnostic center where people coming into the system immediately get the attention and the treatment they deserve for those issues. That takes a lot of people out of the general jail population, puts them in a category where they get the attention that they need. Coincidentally, it frees up, the way I've defined it, 500 beds for more violent offenders. And it's a two-pronged approach, at least, that I think gets us in a much better place than we are right now.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. Mr. Monzel, your response, 90 seconds.
I think we all would like to have a new jail, but with the current economy, we can't afford one. What we need to do, though, is look at out-of-the-box thinking, some different ideas, such as the increased use of alternative means of incarceration, such as the EMUs, the electronic monitoring devices that are used. We have to look at new technology to help keep these criminals off the streets. But also, secondly, I think we could utilize an approach of looking at Warren and Claremont County, who are also dealing with the jail issue, and try to come up with a regional facility that we can use economies of scale to be able to afford it and just not all take it on Hamilton County, but actually share that with Warren and Claremont County.
All right, thank you. 30 seconds for rebuttal, Mr. Tarbell.
Well, we did the jail sharing routine already, and we lost millions of dollars from a previous administration with the county commissioners. We don't want to make that mistake again. The monitors, I think, is a decent idea. But once again, that issue of mental health and addiction has not been addressed. It's not being addressed, and that's the way to get us there more quickly and more confidently.
Mr. Tarbell, thank you. The next question begins with Mr. Monzel. Do you think limits should be placed on bonuses that can be awarded to independent boards, by independent boards that oversee taxpayer dollars and whose members are appointed by the county commission?
Absolutely. We just saw in the press just recently about that taking place. Almost $1 million were given out in bonuses to these appointed boards. And while they might be doing great work in these tough economic times when we're not getting any bonuses or salary raises at the county employees, we shouldn't be giving those bonuses to those appointees of those commission boards. I think that's just the wrong message to send, and I think it's the wrong thing to do. So I do not support that, and I do agree there should be a cap put in place that cannot happen in the future.
Mr. Tarbell, you have 90 seconds.
I agree with that, and it's a wonderful segue, Clyde, into what I've just been talking about with the Diagnostic Center, which would require a funding source. One of the reasons why those folks got bonuses is because there was a reserve in the Mental Health Levy Fund, and they decided to use that to award bonuses. It was a mistake. But the good news is there is a reserve in that Mental Health Levy Fund that can be used for the Diagnostic Center.
All right. Mr. Monzel, you have 30 seconds now to rebut.
And I think leadership should start at the top, and it shouldn't just be bonuses to these appointed boards, but also in regards to the commissioner's own salary. We should cap that. We should have a freeze on that during these tough economic times, that we need to lead by our own example and not accept our own pay increases either. I think leadership starts at the top, and that's what we should do.
All right, thank you. We have another question now from a viewer.
In a difficult economy, government efficiency and making the best use of all of our money has become very important to me. As a voter, I'm concerned and interested to know, what would you do to coordinate government efficiencies within Hamilton County?
And Mr. Tarbell, that question goes to you first for a 90-second response.
I don't think there's any quick fix there. I don't think there's a magic bullet in terms of a particular department where there are glaring inefficiencies. I think that was addressed in the last few years with the previous commissioners, and they're cutting 17% of the budget and about 1,000 positions, 1,000 jobs. I think it's an across-the-board consideration. I don't think there's any one single department that needs to be singled out here. It's just paying attention. I think that it's so many of these kinds of matters are a matter of vision and leadership, and getting us the morale of the administration, the morale of the community at a higher level, so we make better decisions on a regular basis, and so people feel more confident about investing in our county, which brings more tax income to the county and more resources in general.
All right, Mr. Monzel, your response, 90 seconds.
Well, as an engineer at GE, this is what I do for a living. I'm a program manager, and what we need to do is lean out processes in order to take out the waste and inefficiency and cost in what we do at our work. That can be said of anywhere in any business, and especially within the government. We all know government wastes money, and what we need to do is focus on every department. And I know one specifically has been brought up to me by builders and developers is our building department, where I've been told it takes over 30 days to get a building permit in order to move something forward in Hamilton County. That's ridiculous. They're up in Warren and Butler County, they're getting them in a day. So in order for us to compete, to bring more businesses here, to bring more homeowners here, we have to lean out our processes and make them work efficiently like they're doing in other counties, and we're not doing it here in Hamilton County. That has to change.
All right, sir. Mr. Tarbell, 30 seconds to rebut.
Well, I've been leading the effort and the idea of sharing services and doing, some merging. And that is one area. That's not a new department, or that's not an existing department that needs special attention. That's a concept that for us is about 40 years old. We had a study in 1972 that recommended that, and we haven't really done anything in a meaningful way in that regard.
All right, sir. Thank you. Our next question has to do with money and law enforcement, which came up briefly. Here is the question. The county provides road patrols for 11 jurisdictions. Do you think these jurisdictions should reimburse the county for the expense of those patrols? Mr. Monzel, 90 seconds.
I do not believe that we should have any cuts in our patrols throughout the county. Public safety is one of the key issues that the county is facing. That's why I've been endorsed by the Fraternal Order of Police for this campaign, because they understand that that's an important issue to me. That's the last thing we need to go cut. Like I explained earlier, there's a lot of other waste and inefficiency within our budget. We can't go after and target things that people are paying their taxes for. I mean, they're paying to make sure that they are protected and are safe in where they live. And that's the last thing we need to be doing, is going after, those patrols in the county.
All right, Mr. Tarbell. Excuse me. Your response. You have 90 seconds.
Well, you didn't ask about cutting. You asked about whether other jurisdictions that are enjoying that coverage would pay more. And, that's not come up, at least for me. I think it's something that, that's a conversation that we have to have with those jurisdictions. So much of this is having a conversation, having people at the table on a regular basis so we can compare notes so nobody is put at risk arbitrarily. And I think that if we're having that conversation on a regular basis together, we'll figure out ways that folks can pay their fair share if they're not now. But it's something that ought to be discussed on a regular basis. The sharing of services that I mentioned is part of that. I think if we have a more forthcoming discussion, I think we'll be surprised what we might find in the way of efficiencies of scale by working together.
Mr. Monzel, you have rebuttal time now.
Well, I think if any this township or any other community within the county wants to come forward and help us with paying for that, I'm more open to sit down and talk to them. I think that's a great opportunity for us to get through these tough times, is by working together. And if I would encourage the townships in order to sit down with them to make sure that if they are willing to do this, then I'm willing to listen to them.
All right, thank you. Gentlemen, given the recession, economic development, job creation are on the minds of a whole lot of people right now. So the question is, what role do you see Hamilton County playing, and the Commission in particular playing, in expanding economic opportunities for its residents? Mr. Tarbell, we begin with you for 90 seconds.
What's the last part of that?
What role do you see Hamilton County government playing in expanding economic opportunities for its residents?
What role would the commissioners play?
The commissioners in particular, the county in general?
Yeah. Well, I don't know that Hamilton County has a larger role to play than the other counties do. But I think that Hamilton County, historically, and the farther back you go, the more it's the case, has been the lead as far as surrounding counties is concerned. We are part of a region. One could argue that we are part of a six-city region: Indianapolis, Dayton, Columbus, Lexington, Louisville. I think our considerations for economic development do go that far. It's a matter of leadership. It's a matter of putting out a vision, with experience to back it up, that we are on the move, that we recognize that we've got natural resources that are available to a lot more people than are using them right now, and we have the people in place to help make that happen.
All right, Mr. Monzell, 90 seconds.
Government does not create jobs. Businesses create jobs. I think that's the key thing here. What we need to do is to make sure that government doesn't get in the way of businesses. And I've been meeting with a lot of business owners across Hamilton County, connecting with them, talking to them, and asking them what they need from us. And I get one word back: less. They need less taxes, less government bureaucracy, less red tape. They want to be able to create jobs in order to make their business grow, and then that'll help the county grow. And I think another area, too, that we don't really realize is it's not just businesses, but homeowners. We need more families moving to Hamilton County. You know, out of the last 8 years, Homeorama has been outside of Hamilton County for 7 of those 8 years. We need to have a Homeorama in Hamilton County. We need to bring folks living here and working in Hamilton County.
Mr. Tarbell, 30 seconds to rebut.
Leadership. The problem is not government getting in the way, I don't think, so much as it is government leading, not leading, or leading better is really where it needs to be, and making people feel confident that this is a place to invest, this is a place to have your business.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Monzell, the next question goes to you for 90 seconds. Would you be in favor of having a county executive with power over the county's law, finance, and human relations functions?
No, I don't. I believe that the county commission is the body that's the executive management for the county. It's totally different than city council, where city council is a legislative body. The Hamilton County Commission is program managers, the executive branch of county government. They're the ones where the buck stops. It stops with us. We shouldn't be giving more power to the county executive administrator. Instead, it stops with the commissioners. We're elected by the people. We're the ones that need to be able to make those decisions and create what we need to do from a county administration standpoint, not by giving that power to an administrator.
All right, Mr. Tarbell, same question to you.
Well, I don't think there's any question we have to take a real hard look at the skeleton of our operation right now. And if you look at the 4 out of 5 cities, Indianapolis, Columbus, Lexington, and Louisville, that are nearest here, that have made those changes and are doing better relative to their natural resources than we are, I think we do need to study some revisions and some enhancements. There's not time to get into the specifics this evening, but it's an absolute necessity.
Mr. Monzell, you have 30 seconds to rebut.
Well, I think what we need to do is get a county commission in there who are going to be leaders for the county, who are going to make sure that we're going to put the right decisions in place for our county departments, such as the building department, making sure we're going to have our lean processes in there to actually get the work done and not pass the buck to a county administrator. The buck stops with us. That's where leadership starts.
All right, we have one final question. We're going to ask each of you to limit your responses to 45 seconds apiece on this question. As they look forward to the next budget, the current Board of Commissioners has expressed some opposition to the notion of using casino revenues to offset the county's budget deficit. Do you agree, Mr. Tarbell? 90 seconds.
I would not use a new revenue stream such as the casino income to pay off debt. It's simply fundamentally incorrect, inappropriate.
All right, sir. Very succinct. Thank you. Mr. Monzell, same question.
I am not opposed to using that. When we have to look at our budget and making sure that it's balanced, we're going to have to use every resource possible. And if that's casino money at the time, we don't have to use it. As long as we can get through a short-term time frame, that's fine with me. But if it's there, we're going to have to use every single asset that we have. And if that's available, we should use it.
All right, Mr. Tarbell, your rebuttal, 30 seconds.
New income is for new projects. New income is for new development. New income is to create a vision that gets us to a better place.
All right, Mr. Tarbell, thank you. Mr. Monzell, thank you very much. The candidates now have 90 seconds each for closing statements, and we begin this evening with Mr. Monzell.
Thank you, Clyde. I want to thank the Chamber of Commerce, the Cincinnati Association, as well as the League of Women Voters, and WCPO, and the viewers at home who are watching this debate tonight. As you can tell, there's some stark differences between myself and my opponent in regards to what future Hamilton County is going to go. There's 2 possible futures. There's one that's going to bring you higher taxes. It's going to bring you more government spending, bigger government. And there's one that I believe in that's going to be less taxes, looking at streamlining our functions in the county government and setting the course for a vision of making Hamilton County great. You know, I got involved in politics to make a difference. Ever since I was young, when I grew up in Loveland and went to high school at Moeller and in Montgomery, and now working at GE as an engineer in Evendale, I've been very involved at the county and is now, for the past 8 of the last 9 years, at the city. And I think what I bring is a leadership skills of problem solving, decision making, using common sense in order to lead our county in the right direction. And that's what we need, folks. We need new leadership with a new vision of what we want Hamilton County to be for my children and for your children and for our grandchildren. That we want to make Hamilton County a great place to live, work, and raise a family. And together we can do it. And that's why I'm asking for your vote on November 2nd to get that done. Thank you.
Mr. Monzell, thank you very much. Mr. Tarbell, you now have 90 seconds for your closing statement.
Thank you, Clyde. My appeal is to my friends in the Hamilton County Democratic category, the Hamilton County Republicans, those of you that are independents. I'm real concerned that we are on a precipice of status quo or less if we're not careful. I've heard lots of regressive proposals for the future of Hamilton County. It's not how we got to the best place where we've been. It's not how we're going to get to a better place in the future. You know, I have been in business and in positions of civic leadership for 40 years. This position is for 4 years, but it's 4 years, not 2. And this is pure and simply what I do best, what I've been doing for 4 years. That's why I want to be in this seat. I need to be in this seat. The Cincinnati Reds are doing very well now, and they're doing well because a seasoned veteran, a native Hamilton Countyan, and a business person came forward, bought the team with a commitment to win. That's why they're doing so well. This is what I want to do with my position in the Hamilton County Commission. Thank you very much. I look forward to serving you.
Mr. Tarbell, thank you very much. You have heard tonight from Jim Tarbell, Democrat, Chris Monzell, Republican, running for the Hamilton County Commission. Our thanks to both of these gentlemen for their time tonight. This reminder, early voting is underway in Hamilton County. If you are registered, you can vote at the Board of Elections offices on Broadway, downtown, from 8 until 8 in the morning, that is, until 8 p.m. Monday through Friday, 8 till noon on Saturdays, and from noon until 4 this Sunday, October 24th. Election Day, we remind you, is November 2nd. The polls will be open from 6:30 a.m. until 7:30 p.m. If you missed any part of tonight's debate, you can watch it on WCPO.com. Our thanks this evening to the sponsors, the Cincinnatus Association, the Cincinnati USA Regional Chamber, the League of Women Voters, and, of course, WCPO TV. We certainly hope this has helped you compare the candidates and decide, and that you will exercise your right to vote November 2nd. For all of us here at 9 News, I'm Clyde Gray. Good night.